The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, good morning. This is Arlene. Earlier, we had a discussion on the blast from the grassroots related to the Orang Asli communities in Peninsular Malaysia. Now, we will discuss with Dr. James Alin on the self-determination among communities in Borneo, namely Sabah, Sarawak and Kalimantan, on how they manage their own natural resources. Welcome, Dr. James.
Yes. Good morning.
Yeah. Just to give a background, the local communities in Sabah, Sarawak and Kalimantan have been managing their own natural resources for centuries. In fact, they are much more resilient than we understood. Moreover than that, these communities can manage their natural resources sustainably and effectively without the need for a central government or an agency to govern them. So Dr. James Alin today will discuss how this community managed to manage their natural resources independently and why government can be more effective in addressing, and how the government can be more effective in addressing the needs of these communities. So to start off, share with me more about what have you witnessed within the territories of Sabah, Sarawak and Kalimantan.
Okay. Well, first of all, when we talk about natural resources, right, it can be, will come to our mind will be nature, something beautiful to look at. What do we have within nature? The ecosystem we have, animals, plants, right? Those are natural resources. We will not talk about like petroleum. Those are also natural resources, petroleum and other mining stuff. Yeah. But human beings take it for granted, right? These natural resources, because the thing is given by nature. Or if you are a believer, you said it's given by God, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So human being actually does not produce them. They're only entrusted to look after, if you want to put that way.
When you say natural resources, are you referring to just nature and the environment? But what about environments resources that have been used for commodities, for example, timber, oil and gas?
Yeah. That will need separate discussion. And I suppose we spoke about that already earlier in the previous interview, right? But one thing I think about when we think about local communities, this local communities means that they live in one confined ecosystem. Then because local communities, their life actually is much more closer to nature. The moment they wake up in the morning until they sleep, tomorrow then they repeat again and again. Different from us who lives in the city. We actually go holiday, and then that is the time we have nature, no? Otherwise, we don't have nature.
Yeah, that's true.
You think about it.
So, the people in Sabah and Sarawak has always been living among the nature or the natural environment compared to the urban people like us have been living in concrete jungle. So
yes.
So when it comes to managing their resources, this has been part of their life since forever, isn't it?
That's right. For example, when they wake up, they take shower like us, they brush their teeth, but they don't have a tap. So the water came from rivers or from the mountains, So if you drink the water from the river, most likely you will not, pollute it. You will not use it as your toilet for sure. And definitely you will not put something chemical into it. By logic, right? Unlike us, we don't know what happened to our, sanitation waste We don't know where it ends up to. But the community, they know because they are there. Then out from the river, they get what? Fish. That is for them to eat, right? So they cannot, by logic again, they usually will not overfish the river because if they take all today, what about tomorrow? So the concept of sustainable is come natural to them,
I see. But what about sanitation? Because a lot of the people, I mean, the modern society, they have this idea that they need to educate the orang asli or the aborigines or people who have been living in the land for centuries on how to take care of themselves in terms of their sanitary. Do you think that such thing actually is unnecessary?
That's where the modern conception of government come. This is the role of the government to provide the infrastructure. Of course, open defecation is, who like it? Not even the local community like it. But do they have a choice if the government is not building them proper sanitation system? Of course, if they live in a remote island somewhere, naturally the toilet is the ocean, right?
That's true.
But yeah, they don't like it neither. So it's not their fault, first of all, and they want modern sanitation. Simply, they have no access to it. Probably there's an institutional failure. Government are not reaching there, or maybe government is calculating based on is it economical to build those things there. It's all about economics.
So they also have different concept on how the economy should be. I mean, when it comes to the people of Sabah, Sarawak, and Kalimantan. I mean, if the world is, I mean, if you can get anything, whatever you want around from your surrounding, you don't need paper money or even money. The idea of money itself, isn't it?
So yeah, certainly, because it will be strange if you think that the local community against modern things. They human being too. They need car to go places. They need electricity for kids to read, to study, right? But they make do with what things they have. So again, they are not like shunning these new things. They want to keep their nature at the same time. They want to benefit from modern technology. Yeah. And these two, modern technology and traditional values, are not contradictory to each other.
Another question is, I'm quite curious when you say about managing their own natural resources. Can you give more detailed example of maybe in terms of agriculture, in terms of how they live their life, and other examples that we can learn that from this community of Sabah, Sarawak, and Kalimantan, that they don't really need modern invention or modern technology to manage their resources effectively, and they don't need a central body like the government to tell them, what they need to do.
Yeah, okay. Let me be specific. Let's say this community, they rely on rivers, and they get their food from rivers, and the rivers provide water for their irrigation and things like that. Yeah. In the past, maybe 30 years ago, Sabah used to produce paddy, wet paddy, and both wet paddy and also hill paddy. But today, the area of this paddy, of course, paddy are planted by these local communities. It's shrinking, In fact, government try to revive them, investing a lot of money, subsidizing them, but it takes long time for it to work. So in the past, without that benefit of modern technology, like today we have tractor for planting, combined harvester to harvest, big irrigation system from a dam, So this is a big scale, big scale stuff, but it doesn't work. Then the question is, in the past, they didn't have these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But still, the paddy was, the area paddy was big. Where did they get the water?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have a dam that time. They only have river flowing from the mountain. So how come they can have a big scale long time ago? Today we cannot with the modern benefit of modern technology. There must be something. They have done something correct and in the past that we don't have today, and they don't have it today. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
That community in the past, they maintain their own irrigation, because they look after the rivers. They don't simply cut their forest in the mountain, because if you cut the forest, there will be no water for sure. Because forests retain water underground.
Mm-hmm.
But today, this forest deforestation is beyond the control of the community. What happened on the top of the mountain, they have no control over, because government give concession to the big company.
I see. So it's related to development and usually big companies will be the one taking advantage over the lands of all these communities.
Yeah. I mean, so last time, who lives on the mountain? Another local communities. But they first of all, they didn't have need to cut vast area of timber. Therefore, enough water at that time flowing down to the foot of the mountain where people plant paddy. And this irrigation are maintained by community. They have a very organized system to maintain the not so sophisticated big scale like today. Irrigation, is by hand, labor.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they don't maintain the irrigation, then they have nothing to eat, right?
Mm-hmm, that's true.
Yeah, but today, so they no longer need to use it. They said, the government said, no, today you have a machine. We have a dam. We dam somewhere. No problem with water. You can plant paddy all year. But actually, it's against nature, How can you exhaust your land? You continue to toil. It's just, that's why they end up using a lot of chemical, fertilizer, pesticide.
Yeah, talking about chemical fertilizer, yesterday our conversation, you said something interesting that is keep on appearing in my mind is about the Malay communities in the peninsula. They used to be self-sufficient as well, like the communities in Sabah and Sarawak.
That's right. Yeah, that also you have the word bandang, right?
Yeah, bandang. And also it's based on that Malay proverb, harapkan pagar makan padi.
Yes,
and
yes.
The word pagar is actually pegor. It's a type of wild chicken that helps the Malay farmers to catch insects or bugs. In a way, it actually is more efficient than the chemical pesticides.
Maybe, let's say, efficient means what? Yeah, if efficient means you can have a bigger area, then we need to think how to define that word efficient. Because if you rely on chicken, small area, yes, a big area. How many chicken do you need to employ? How many chicken do you need to employ to do pest control? I mean, this is a modern thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still, like I said, in the past, the Malay community, they plant paddy. They first of all, they don't use pesticide or pest control modern type. Yeah, so they rely on nature. This wild chicken actually is nature too. They come to their bandang and they do the pest control. So that's why you have that. Hence, you have that proverb. Harapkan pagar makan padi. But actually, it's not pagar. Not the fence. A lot of people doesn't know that. It's not a fence. Actually, it's a mistake translation from Jawi to Romanized. Yes.
I see. Let's talk about the government. So, what are the government view among the local communities in Sabah and Sarawak? They seem to be much more to be wanting to be in control of the natural resources of these communities instead of letting them to be in control of their own.
Yes. We go back to the earlier example about, local community, they need this river to be clean, flowing from the mountain. But when the government of the day give concession to another company who is not living in the community, of course they don't care what happens below them, right? When you give them the rights to cut the timber, then it will be affecting this small community. No one know of them, They don't appear in GDP, But timber will appear in GDP, counted as a production. That's another thing, yeah. So what I'm saying is, government, we need government, but not the big government that we have today. Big and wasteful government. What we expect the government can do is they need to do something about that. Someone cutting the timber on the top of the mountain,
They need to control the development instead of controlling the lives of the communities in that sense, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm saying is, why can't you just, restrict how much timber they can cut, Community they don't need big area like virgin forest, like you look after virgin forest, big until there is no much land and space for local community.
Do you think the government of today are out of touch with the local communities, especially those who are from the remote areas?
No. But like I said, they've gone too far. Before we think when we want to manage resources, natural resources, there's three possible way. One, you privatize, right? Like if you think that forest, the best way to make people to plant again this forest is to give them ownership over that area, right? They own the area, they cut and they replant. Okay, that is one. That is called privatization. You privatize natural resources. Second, you don't like this private way of managing. You said, okay, government, keep it. For example, parks, national parks, forest reserve, or protected area, and they don't allow community living inside. So this is fortress type of contribution. So that is government way. They said, okay, I'm the king of the area. You don't do anything there. No, you cannot go in and take anything there. The third one, also equally effective. You give it to the community. Let's see whether the community can do it or not. But when for these three to work, there is certain condition. First, because when we said private property means you can actually exclude people who have no rights from using it. When we talk about private property means your car is your private property, right? So unless you give permission to someone, that someone cannot use your car. True or not?
That's true.
So that's the same. That is basic principle to manage resources. So, but unfortunately, certain natural resources, you cannot exclude. You cannot enforce that type. Example, some animals, big animals like elephant, orangutan, proboscis monkey. These are natural resources. Good for tourism and also for other cultural needs of the local people.
I see.
So these animals, you cannot. First of all, if you want to own them, you can. You put them in the cage, right? They become a pets. You have your private space. But of course, in the modern time, the law said no. You don't. No one owns this animal. Okay. Even if you want to keep elephant, you go to zoo and see. But you cannot have your own elephant. Now, the problem with these natural resources like this, they are migratory, They move from one place to another. And hence, there is a problem, because you cannot exclude. For example, if our elephant, Sabah elephant, go to Kalimantan, there's nothing much you can do if somewhere in Kalimantan, someone catch this elephant, do harm to them. Just like also at the sea, marine animals, like dolphin, turtles, dugong, sharks. These are natural resources too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this make it complicated, very complicated. But the local community, they deal with this issue for a long time. They found a solution already. For animals that migratory, they have different set of rules for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How do they view natural resources in their own perspective?
Yeah, but in the case of this wild animal, migratory, big wild animal, both terrestrial and also marine, local community, some of them, they eat them because it's also a source of food. Like the Japanese eat whale, right? That type of thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some, even if they eat the animal, they do have a system, like I said, to make sure that they will not eat all. They will not eat all. Dugong, but of course, they modern time, very few islanders actually eat them. They do eat them, but they don't eat them to extinction.
But I guess the major difference is in the modern society when people consume is based on higher consumption rate, which is consumerism, and also is based on the idea of wanting to flaunt. If if someone poach a tiger, is because they want the skin so that they can sell at a higher price. Yeah.
Yes. In the case of that marine mammal, like I said, dolphin. Or reptile like sea turtles, that nice thing to see as a tourist or as a Malaysian. You feel proud to have them, right? It's heritage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of thinking people in the conservation, they said, this local community eat them. That's why they disappear. Actually, if you look closer, it is not the local community eating habit that make them extinct. Who actually catch them by intention or not? It is the fishing community. The big trawler, this is not a local community. This is a industrial type of fishing, because they put a cast net, big net. This net will catch anything underneath the ocean.
I'm interested. I'm interested. Go ahead first.
Then in the end, local community get the blame. But again, you think about, hey, but it's not fair, right? If dolphin, dugong, sea turtles, and other nice marine animals disappear, it's a local community responsible. How about the people who catch, use big technology to catch fish? Yeah.
I'm interested to know more about the communities in Kalimantan because it's under the Indonesian government. How does the Indonesian government or even the local Kalimantan governor interact with the local communities there?
Yes. Well, before the reform, when Suharto was out of politics, so the rights of managing natural resources went back to the local community. Before that, the federal government in Jakarta, they control all natural resources, you name it, from gold, timber, even wildlife, So that like more than a half century of missing that is local community engagement, missing that half century, making the entire natural resources degraded, they depleted actually. Then today, the control is back to the community because they have decentralization, they give back autonomy. Today we have Majlis Dewan Adat. This is the customary council of the Dayak people in Kalimantan. They have their own forests, they manage them. If they want to cut, the profit go to them. So, the best way to make people to look after something, like I said just now, is the benefit. Because to look after a forest, there's a cost to it, right? So by logic, whoever pay for the cost should also benefit, vice versa. Yeah, that's in Kalimantan. This Majlis Dayak gaining popularity and they become stronger. The local politician also engage them in managing resources. So now this hutan adat, this forest, customary forest, the wild animal are coming back. But some big major mammals, once they're gone forever.
I
This
see.
is sad thing.
Do you think the forests, the communities of Kalimantan are managing their natural resources better than in Sabah and Sarawak? Because I saw one aerial view of Borneo, and they compare the natural resources with between Kalimantan and also Sabah Sarawak. While Kalimantan, they still have large green forests. At the same time, when you look at the aerial view of Sabah and Sarawak, it's all gone. Like it's just palm oil plantation and other commercial crops plantation. So how can these local communities survive in Sabah and Sarawak if it's like that?
Well, first of all, in terms of forest cover, you compare Sabah, Sarawak, and Kalimantan area. Sabah has the highest forest cover, followed by some part of Kalimantan, not all Kalimantan, and Sarawak is the last one. And despite the claim of the ruling regime of Sarawak, they said they have vast area of forest. That is not true. Like you already observed, you're saying Google Earth satellite doesn't lie, no?
Yeah, that's the thing, right?
Well, again, if this local community fight back, they have no choice, but they need to fight back. Even if sometimes their voice are being muffled by the might of the state, the state has a monopoly over coercive power. They put people, Penan people who protest because the sacred customary land is being encroached by a big logging company. So they end up in jail. Some of them got killed. But they will fight. These people are very resilient. I believe so.
We will return back again in a couple of minutes to continue discuss about how this community work in a system that can protect not just their community but also the natural resources among themselves. Also more on the government and why the government has become more and more ineffective in addressing this problem.
Right.
The voice of sharing. Durian ASEAN.
Hi, welcome back again. This is Arlene and Dr. James Alin. You're also on the phone now?
Hi.
Yeah. So we continue again our discussion today on the self-determination among communities in Borneo, how they manage their natural resources. So for how can these local communities form a system to ensure that they can manage their own natural resources?
Some people think that this indigenous way of managing natural resources need recognition from the modern state, for whatever reason, but I think that will come later, If one day the modern state decided to recognize, means that put them legally in the legal context, then it's good. Otherwise, it's okay, because for the local people, they have no choice but to do it. It's question of survival. For example, I said about that managing their own river. Yes, and then the modern government actually there is some tendency of the modern state, both politician component and also bureaucrats, moving towards working together with the community. But it's just superficial, not not very deep, not enough. For example, in Sabah we have a system called Tagal. Tagal is how local community manage the inland fishery. You have a lake, you have a big river with a lot of rich biodiversity of fish. So they have Tagal system. They harvest together and they divide among the local community. This been practiced for maybe many hundred years. Today it survives somewhere in the interior, and also the Department of Fishery trying to help. They invest some money, taxpayer money, to revive where this system already died because for various reasons. Yeah? So there is hope there, but like I said, superficial. Why I said superficial? Because this Tagal, I should explain a little bit Tagal. Tagal, what it means, it means that you have one area where you fish a big river or lake. Then harvesting is done by the community, not by individual. Yeah? So that means the fish does not belong to one company, not like private type. So they divide equally among them. So that's why they have no reason to be greedy, right?
So everything is for the community. It's not for one person.
Yeah, for one person, they can catch like a lot of fish, but in the end, they have to divide, right? They cannot keep them all, even if they want to. That is the first idea. Second is they are not allowed to harvest all the time as they like, They have certain seasons. So certain seasons are closed season, And that closed season is an automatic mechanism to make sure the living things replenish themselves,
And they can breed more, and then it's a very basic understanding of being sustainable. It's not really a modern idea. I think being sustainable in managing natural resources. That's
right. And in the modern times, like I said, the Department of Fishery, they invest a lot of money to try to revive. Some part of it can be considered successful, some are not. Again, I said this official. Politician will come and they have a big publicity, they do something good. It's good for them, and it's no harm to the community neither. Okay, fine. But, at the same time, they are not addressing the issue of someone logging somewhere, and this logging affecting the very river or lake that they are now managing. So how can it be? One side, you invest a lot, you spend taxpayer money to revive the system, yet the different agency within the government, they don't do anything to reduce or stop the logging, and that makes the entire thing fail again. Then back to square one.
I see. Among these communities, they are also very close communities where they have their own law or their own common law, isn't it? When it comes to
yes.
So how are these laws works?
First, the common law idea is less punishment. Punishment like what we understood. You put them in people in the prison if they committed crime or something, violating rules that mutually agreed by the members of the community. So they are less thinking that way. So if someone violated certain adat or the customary rules, they try to negotiate first. But if that's very grave crime, of course, that will also require them to impose heavy punishment. But it's very rare, very rare. Usually, the violation is more on the daily activity related to daily life. Yeah.
So it's not like hudud or Sharia law, I guess.
Yeah, that one is different issue. Yeah. Like you imagine, if they do like a modern time type of a criminal law, they will not have a harmonious rural living. They will have revenge. Someone in the family will pay revenge. There will be no ending to violence.
So their law is actually based on the idea of living harmoniously among all communities.
Yes.
And also learning from their, mistake instead of punishing for their mistake.
Yes, and the punishment are gradual, gradual punishment. And they more focus on shame, guilt, putting a pressure, peer pressure. Peer pressure is another form of controlling social mechanism to control the behavior of your member. Yeah.
I see. So peer pressure is the number one way of how local communities try to make sure everyone is united and, try to conform to certain adat or certain laws within the communities.
That's true, yes.
Regarding on the government, how has the government become very ineffective in this? I mean, a lot of complaints, especially on the government agency that is related to the affairs of the Orang Asli, have been, this is referring to the Peninsula Malaysia, have been very unhappy the way the government manage their lives, as if they are a bunch of children that do not know how to deal with their own livelihood. So when it comes to Sabah and Sarawak, what is the experience dealing with the government?
Well, we don't have a native department equal to the Orang Asli, Jabatan Orang Asli, but we have a law called native law, codified law written. So in that sense, the law of the common and the law of local people are already recognized. It's a good thing. We have a court, native court.
What is a native court? This is something interesting because I don't think we have that in Peninsula Malaysia.
Yeah, native court is just like ordinary court of law. If you, in the case of that, I said pagal, let's say, you go and fish during the close season. So they will bring you to court. The court is, the panel of the court is all the adat, the elders, the council of people who understand adat. So they will impose certain penalty to you. But this penalty is not retribution, It's not about getting it equal, like revenge type. It's more on, so to make this person feel remorseful because what he have done is something not acceptable to the community. Fishing for your own benefit. So the system make such that this individual supposed to feel remorseful, and so next time maybe he will refrain or he will move somewhere. If you don't agree with the system, he will move somewhere.
I see. Interesting. So what is your what is your message to people out there when it comes to trying to get them understand how the local community works and how we can be more aware of how these natives, manage their resources, and maybe we can learn from them as well.
Oh yes. For one thing, in the modern times, this local community system of managing natural resources will need the support of the state, the government. Will need it. There's no way for them to go and stop the logging on the top of the mountain by themselves. There's no way. So they need it. Second, whatever reason, if the bureaucrats and the politicians willing to work with them, that's a good thing already. It's not enough. The local community can voice them. Of course, civil society also can be somewhere there, both to build capacity of the government and also capacity of the communities.
So I guess the central role of the government, instead of being more bureaucratic and trying to control the natural resources surrounding this local community, they should be actually protecting the rights of these local communities in Sabah and Sarawak. and to some extent in Kalimantan as well.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So what is your last comment on this?
Well, to manage these natural resources, private initiative or government, these two are not the only solution.
Mm-hmm.
There's another one that's equally effective that is called local community way of life.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think it's great that we are being exposed to more alternative system where local communities can be empowered and take care of their own and manage and take care of their own natural resources and their own livelihood, instead of having a more, I would say, the mainstream idea of the government should take care of everyone, and we are all helpless people.
I agreed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, thank you very much. It has been a very interesting discussion, and
You're welcome.
yeah, thank you for speaking with us in the ABC dialogue.
All right. See you.
See you.